Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. I hope you're enjoying your work week so far. All right, so today's video is more of a tech tip or mechanic tip. This is something that I really wanted to film, document, and record because I actually have a GMC Sierra. It's 2013 with a 5.3 liter V8 in it, and I didn't know that this bracket actually existed until today. And when I did see it today, I knew that I had to actually film it. Now, I don't always have time to film at work because time is money, and my time is very valuable to me as well as the shop. So I don't have the luxury of filming every single thing that I do. As nice as it may be, I don't own the shop, and I want to help try to generate as much money as I can in a work day or work week as I possibly can. But that being said, I knew that I had to record this because it was something that I didn't really want to forget about later on down the road. And I can always come back to my video and take a look and see how something was done and should I have any questions about it. But I saw this product that some genius made and has supplied Napa with this bracket capability, and looking at the bracket, it almost looked like VIM made it, and I thought that was kind of cool, actually. So if you've ever worked on any kind of exhaust manifold, anything, you know that one of those things that could potentially happen is that the hardware breaks down over time. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the bolts shear in half or they walk themselves out. You hope they walk themselves out, but there's always a good possibility that they've broken in half and now they're stuck inside the head. You really hope they walk themselves out, but if they don't, you hope there's enough to grab onto with some kind of an extractor. Most times you're having to drill and extract it yourself. And even fewer times you're left with the ones in the back that are so hard to get to, you can't get them out without removing the head and doing a head gasket and everything else. That can be very time consuming to you as a mechanic, and it can be very costly to the customer because now they have to take that cylinder head down to the shop. It's got to be, checked for warpage. Then if there's any warpage, they have to machine it, and then so forth and so forth, and the bill adds up pretty quick. That being said, this new bracket that Napa or whoever made it for Napa that they come up with, I thought was too ingenious to pass up. So let's take a look at the process. I'll take a look at some of the tools that I used during the process, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts on it. Alright, so I used this Matco extractor kit in the beginning because there were two broken exhaust bolts. One of them I was actually able to get out using this left-handed drill extractor and that extractor kit. I heated it up, put some PB Blaster on it, it came right out. The other one I ran into was towards the back of the head. This is a problem, so now the head has to come off, right? No, they actually came out with this bracket, so we got this from Napa. A customer bought it from Napa and gave it to us. They wanted this installed on their car. They're well aware of what the process would have been if we did not install this bracket. So this is how it's set up. So there's two holes in the back side of this Chevy head, and it's a 14 millimeter bolt that goes through on the top and the bottom. So once you have those in, you could thread them in almost all the way by hand. But once you get down to the end, it's a little bit difficult to put a socket or ratchet behind it. So you're going to have to get, a special little tool we'll show you here in a second. But okay, so you put this bolt here, and this takes the place of the exhaust manifold bolt. You want to flush it up as you're running it in, and once it's run flush, you stop. You need to leave enough gap to be able to slide the exhaust manifold into place. So now you can take your flex head ratchet. This is what I ended up having to use to tighten these up. The torque spec for those backside bolts is 37 foot-pounds. Like I said, you can pretty much go by feel on this. You want to get them good and tight. You might throw some blue LOCKTITE on those too. That would help secure them. Now we can go ahead and install the studs on our new exhaust manifold that's getting ready to be put on the car using this installer removal tool that I got from Cornwell. You can use whatever you want, but that's what I use. Then you want to take some red thread locker. Once the exhaust manifold gasket and everything's there and everything's tight, you put some on the threads before you run the bolt in, and then we'll put a little bit more once we've run it in. Now I'm using an elbow style 14 millimeter wrench in order to tighten this one up. You don't have to go overkill because the first pass going from center out is 11 foot-pounds. The final pass is 18 foot-pounds. So you don't really have to put a lot of shit behind it in order for it to be tightened up. And this is what it'll look like roughly when you're all done. You can easily slide the shield and exhaust manifold in if you disconnect the steering column. Now you might want to use like an alignment brace against the steering wheel so the steering wheel doesn't spin and you ruin the clock spring, or use a seat belt to secure it in place. But once you have everything put together, it's easy peasy. Now from underneath, we'll tighten up the hardware. There's 3 nuts, 15 millimeter. I'm using the Milwaukee Fuel stubby, which has been phenomenal, by the way. I know I get asked about that from time to time. I love it. It's the brushless. We'll go into that a little bit later in another video, my thoughts between brushless and brushed. All right, so pretty ingenious little setup that they come up with, whoever came up with it. Like I said, the little stamping that it had on it looked like it said VIM to me. That's kind of like VIM symbol, but I could be way incorrect on that. All I know is that either the customer provided it to us from Napa or we got it from Napa. But either way, we stayed in full communication with the customer. They were well aware of what was going to happen should we decide to extract that broken off bolt inside the head would have to come off. This little bracket assembly cost 45 bucks. That's killer. I would much rather spend $45 on this little tiny bracket setup than have to do an entire cylinder head gasket on any car. A little bit of a pain in the butt to kind of get your fingers back there to start those in there, but if you have a flex head ratchet, like I said, you should be able to tighten them up pretty good. And I'd use blue Loctite for that. For the main bolt that goes in towards it, now on the instructions it said to use high temperature thread locking compound. Red Loctite, okay? Use red Loctite. That's going to hold that thing in there secure. Red Loctite's not permanent, it's just extremely difficult to break free. But you can usually break it free pretty easily if you heat it up with a torch or spray it with something, and then if you have to, lightly tighten and then go to back it out. Look, it's a little bit difficult, not nearly, I mean obviously blue Loctite's a lot easier to work with, and having no Loctite on something's even easier, and red Loctite's a little bit more of a challenge, but it can be done. But that's what I used on this current bracket assembly as high temperature, because that's good stuff. It's not going to work its way out. And so once it's in, put a little bit more on the other side of the threads just to kind of lock everything in. That's my tech tip for today. I hope it helps somebody out. If it did, give me a thumbs up. If it didn't and you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Share if you want to share. As always, thanks for watching. I've got more content coming up, but the majority of my content is usually done over the weekends, and then I intermittently release throughout the week as my work schedule dictates. Other than that, that's all I got for this video. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.